Welcome, audiophile and cinephiles alike, to the Beneflicks podcast, the show where we are reaping the Beneflicks one movie at a time. I'm Liz.
I'm Tyson.
How you doing this fine evening, friend?
A late episode again. We're recording super late once more. It's
Don't.
a tactic that we keep on getting attached to for some reason.
Yeah, but I mean, we're very busy fellas, and considering I don't remember if it was the best of the year list or the best scene. I think it was the best scenes of the year list. We started that at like close to 1 a.m.
Yep,
And that
late recording.
That was intense because I knew going in that it was going to be a long recording, so I agree with you, but I think we've had a good day. I think we've had a good time. I think this might be, and you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but the longest time in between recordings that we've had.
Yeah, because the first couple we kind of did one after another, not like regarding like the same day or like even like sequentially throughout a week, but I guess like we did jam those first four within the span, I believe, of 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And then five, we kind of did a week apart. And then six was a little bit more than a week. And then this is, I think, officially what, like almost 2 weeks since our last recording, roughly, kind of.
Jesus. Yeah, it is crazy. I think maybe I should maybe like sit and plan out all this stuff. But what I love to do is just like look at the movies that are coming out. I guess it has yet to backfire on us where I was like, "Oh, we're going to do that for video." And it didn't really work out. Typically, I either have a backup that we watch that day or a backup plan or a movie that's coming out on the horizon relatively soon thereafter. But like fuck. I mean, right now I'm sitting and I'm like, we're gonna be doing Lee Cronin's The Mummy that is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, and maybe that could blow up in our face, or maybe we could do the Lee Cronin plunge of what, 1.5 movies?
Three movies at the most. One of them's like his student short film from college.
No, I think there is some grace that we have to the elegance of this all, but you said overall you had a great day, friend?
Yeah, no, very good day. Very relaxed. Enjoyed my day off. Enjoyed to the most part, a movie that we saw that we're not talking about
No.
today, but we got to catch Alpha in theaters, and that's been one that's been brewing on our minds for a while. And even if it's not what we're talking about today, and I doubt we'll
Mm,
be bringing it up in a podcast setting anytime soon, I'm very grateful we can have seen it in a theater because it's a very cool movie to watch in a theater.
true.
Um,
You
how was your
enjoy
day?
it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. How was your day?
My day, thank you for asking, friend. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, I have to go typecast real quick. On this beautiful evening chill that is of a brisk 71 degrees, that is totally fabricated. Um, I'm doing well. I'm trying to get a bit more of my bearings, and I think as someone who's tried to evade the process of a routine, getting older, you just kinda come to embrace it, not just, like and I'm not even talking about, like, waking up, like, for me, I kinda wake up at very erratic hours, and luckily, like, I'm able to get mostly sleep throughout the night, but it is more when it comes to the creative endeavors, and we had a really good conversation a few days ago about, like, the commitment to routine in light of what we wanna do and just really attacking the creative angle and lens to what we want. I mean, like,
100%.
I wonder, like, if it's maybe similar to you, but, like, I've put so many of these objectives that are so small scale in front of me as a means of kind of maybe distancing myself from the hard pills to swallow of creativity, like you moving out. That was like one of them where I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna help Tyson move out," and obviously, like you moving in, that's gonna create a nice buffer for us to like not have to attack and engage directing. Or then like when you moved into your space, I was like, "Let's do this podcast." And now that we have that, or I'm like, I'm gonna start school, and I started school. I think even like in the earlier episodes, like we talked about me starting more school and I'm already in that. So it's like, I don't know, maybe it's the undercutting of my potential as a person that I feel about myself going into things. And I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna suck at this and I'm gonna have all my time taken up for this. But then when I'm doing it, I'm like, it's not that bad.
You know, that's a really good point. I think, like, to some degree, I think it's really easy to yeah, I think it's important to be satisfied with the small hills that you might overcome just in day-to-day life, whether it be personal goals or just getting out of bed. You know, like for a lot of people, that's like the least you can do, and that's like the most important step, right? Just getting out of
Yeah.
bed. Even if it's getting up out of bed and then getting right back into bed, like getting up is the first and most important part. So like tackling those small hills or like those small challenges that you might set for yourself is always a great thing to go to achieve. But then you notice when you have more aspirations in life and more things you want to strive for, the small hills aren't cutting it. And you can either kind of find a way to make the small hills incline more and more until you reach your ultimate mountain or the ultimate goal rather.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think for me personally, like a big thing that I've been kind of juggling is kind of I'm doing all like the small things that I really set out to do and really improve about myself. But now that it's all said and done, like I do crave something bigger. I do crave something more on a creative scale,
Mhm.
which we've kind of bonded over. We've always bonded over, but especially as of recent. So I'm excited for what the future holds for us, especially because I do think that we're ready. I think we've said we're ready for so long, and then it turns out we're not, or just life gets in the way. But I do feel in some weird way that this is it. This is kismic, as you say.
Yeah, I think I don't know, maybe and time will only tell when we get to look at a finished product of an art piece that we make together that isn't just something we converse about, where we can maybe pinpoint in the form or the style or the narrative like what it was that changed or how that changed us. But I think one thing is just we have to stop waiting. Like for example, and we had like a specific snafu in the smallest of terms with this podcast. We were waiting for a piece of equipment to arrive to help us get our mics up and running to then record.
Yeah.
And there was like a few day lull where we're like, we'll just wait it out. We'll wait it out. And I mean, look at us now. Like we are still we I have the dongle, but we're using a whole different thing and I am learning to harness it. Like I don't even know if you could tell, but like between the episode, I think it was the best scenes of the year episode and the undertone episode, or maybe the best movies of the year. The audio there's a big difference to the audio. There it's not nearly as shoddy and more loud or just without any containment of the voices because the software that I use, like now I have to like go through pretty much like minute by minute and I break it down and I run it through a different other version of a software that I have
Oh shit.
um, so I recommend you check that out because
Yeah.
it does sound different. It isn't as noisy or chalky, but no, I think it's just like the name of the game is not waiting around, and like maybe it's because of how I look at our first project that I'm like, man, I wish I could have made that a bit more beautiful. And now I'm just embracing what it is that we have because we have such good stories to tell.
Yeah.
But no, I'm very excited, and I think today especially, I was excited that we could record. I know there was something a bit up in the air, but I think we all go through that. You know, if you go through that too, my friends, please just let us know. Again, this is a movie-related podcast, but as you can tell, we're already about 8 minutes deep into this, and we haven't talked a lick about the movies that we're talking about today. So if you're feeling any of this, please email us in at beneflickspod@gmail.com, or even at your convenience, comment down below. Feelings, thoughts, anything. We'd love to know.
Yeah,
Um,
there's something very poignant and special about connecting with other small artists or even large artists to some degree of imposter syndrome or just struggling to get a project off the ground because of
yeah,
lack of budget, lack of motivation. It's existent for all of us, I assume, to some degree, and I think Liz and I both speak like mutually when we say like we love to hear others' experiences and we love to kind of unite over the struggle or unite over the perseverance rather. I think that we, are speaking much before anything is said and done, but I think a big part of getting the ball rolling is speaking as you're doing it. Because if not, I think to some degree, like if you're not, it's not out in the world, it's all in your mind still, and then that means the only person that can is going to hold you accountable for if it doesn't fall through is yourself. So
literally.
finding people to not, I guess, I don't want to say hold you accountable, rather just like who motivate you, who encourage you, who want to work with you, or rather just see what work you can provide and how that can, come into fruition.
Mhm.
It's really important, I think, especially when you're a small artist, no matter if you're trying to do film or painting or
Yeah,
even content creation. I think it's so, so important to just get people that get you excited about your art form.
exactly. And all this talk of motivation, it motivated me to get out of my house a little earlier today and make a little trip to Book Off. And
Oh, shit.
I got a few little things for anyone who doesn't know. Book Off is sort of like this party exchange store for all things media. They have books, DVDs, CDs, records, vinyl, manga, collectibles.
Originated in Japan, I believe it's, like, mostly a Japan
Yeah,
train or, Japan,
oriented,
Japan
centered
chain,
chain.
yeah.
Yeah. And there's one locally, luckily locally like 11 miles from my house, and stopped by there and I got a couple of goodies. Can you guess any of what I got today? I got four things.
I'm gonna, off the bat, assume that it has to do with the theme of today's episode, which is muscular cinema, and I am gonna leave my guess there.
Wow, so not a guess at all. That's
No.
just like an umbrella. Okay, I'm gonna take these out. Don't be looking my way.
Okay, my face
Um,
is at the corner.
so I will say again, I guess you can look now, but just don't be peeking because they are right behind me. But my whole point for going to Book Off was actually to get a DVD. It's this movie from like 2006. It's like this horror movie that I saw a clip of, and it's maybe the most like 2000s horror movie I've ever seen, called Stay Alive. Um,
I think I've heard of it.
it has the guy from Malcolm in the Middle, Frankie Muniz, and it's basically low key like distant understanding of the movie is like a video game VR like sort of game immersion, casts people into this world where they like kill each other, sort of like, I guess, like a battle royale, so to speak. But the software and like the look of the game is so unbelievably 2000s, like it's actually kind of ridiculous.
Stay Alive, yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
and so, like, I really wanted to I've been, like, low key.
2.4 average rating, that's awesome.
So, I guess technically 2 movies I wanted to find were that, because I've just been craving some extra greasy cheese on my pizza lately, and it was that, and I wanted to get the DVD because they have it unrated cut. The theatrical is, like, 85, the unrated's 101 minutes, so it's a big difference. But the other movie that I wanted to get was actually from our veteran GOAT, Jeff Wadlow. I don't know if, yeah, you're looking at me with like a little like dog sniffing for
Wadlow.
me, called Cry_Wolf, another 2000s horror movie from our GOAT director. When you pull it up, you will know who
That
this.
actually sounds so familiar too.
And I hadn't known about this movie at all until I had like found a video on it.
Oh.
Our goat in the flesh.
Oh, you mean imaginary.
And yeah, and it's, I guess, like, his feature debut, which was funded off of, like, a contest he won. He made a short film off of it. Just again, as you could tell, like, a purely 2000s horror.
2.7.
Yeah, so, combine that, it almost makes a 5 out of 5. No, it 5.1, so it makes a little bit over a
How
five-star movie.
awesome.
But I found Cry_Wolf, the unrated version. I chose not to get it. Um,
How did you
the
find that?
well, because like, they divvy it up, like, with the DVDs, there was, like, a horror
Sure,
section.
but that's like an insane poll.
I was really, really banking on the Stay Alive DVD, but they didn't have it. So, the first one I got, funny enough, has nothing to do, don't look, don't look, don't look,
Okay.
don't look, with Muscular Cinema at all. But I found this movie, it's called Spanglish. It just
Oh, oh,
directed by Ella McKay filmmaker Albert Brooks. Um,
what, what the
yeah, and I don't to me, I guess I've
It's
also been
about
like.
how much he loves Latinas. Adam Sandler.
Mhm,
What the fuck?
mhm,
Okay.
and I've been really just wanting to dive in and watch, like, a really, like, sturdy 2000s as well, like, romance,
Need
just expensive film that just would never get made today.
the DVD needs to be like disinfected. It feels fucking grimy. Like it literally feels
That's
grimy.
the case with the Book Off experience. So then there's that.
Like the universe where I guess Spanglish. I'm like, oh,
You're like,
peephole.
My I'm getting nutty notes of cryovolve and Spanglish.
You're so dumb.
But the second one I got was actually, like, one that we have talked about and I wanted to get, and funny enough, like, I've shown you a couple of my physical media, like, pieces where you're like, "Oh, that is almost like that is a time capsule in and of itself." One of the movies we're gonna be talking about tonight
Yeah.
has like a game portfolio, or what is it called? Like,
Yes.
like those game, like,
A manual kind of thing.
thank you, the
A
manuals
guide.
of Recon Sniper Elite or something like
Yeah,
that. It's like a Ghost Recon
ridiculous.
game. Um, but I found for $5
Oh, shit,
Deja Vu, and
nice.
go give it a look at that, and then try to open it. I could hold your mic if you want. But look inside. Go ahead and grab that, open it
What
up,
the
open
fuck
it up,
is
open it up.
this?
I knew I had to get it.
Oh, a Hollywood Video customer copy receipt.
Yeah, from, like, a city near us too.
They bought Delta Farce.
Oh, did they?
I think I love my what the fuck is this bullshit?
Praise for the martyr.
This is crazy.
No, I know, and that's the beauty of Book Off is they keep as long as the DVD isn't scratched, which it has, like, 1 or 2, um,
Yeah, it
but
looks pretty good.
but I'm
That's
like,
actually crazy.
"Fuck yeah," and then
The $5 Deja Vu, you have to.
no, quite literally, and then the 3rd thing I got was actually funny enough, like, something I had no the expectation or desire to purchase, but one that I'm really grateful to because it was on discount, and it's a movie that I've really been wanting to check out. Funny enough, it's actually a Criterion.
What?
And it looks sick as shit. It's actually Menace to
Oh,
Society.
sick. Okay. Yeah.
Um, that's the 4K. It's directed by the Hughes brothers. I
Yeah.
think it's their debut. They made a movie after called Dead Presidents, which is also beloved, but then they split up into their own thing. One of the Hughes brothers made a movie, funny enough, called Alpha, which is like the survival movie. And then the other made maybe the greatest codex to our inspirational career, The Book of Eli,
That's so fire.
isn't it?
The Hughes brothers.
So it's the
Fucking
4K, so
it looks nice. It's in good quality.
right? And then the last one I got, it was like God saying, "Here you go. I know you've been doing good in life, but let me do you some better."
I mean, I guess I could have guessed Deja Vu, but Menace to Society and Spanglish is out of my fucking realm.
I know, but the last one actually is for you, my
What?
fellow sire. Here you go.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I
Oh, shit. This is big.
this
This
is
is
big.
big.
This is big. I don't think there's anything to it. Just the DVD, but it's beautiful that it is the DVD, you
What's
know?
the DVD? They don't even know.
Oh, the DVD, my friends, is the Rabbids filmmaker, The Final Girls from I think it's 2016 or 24 no, 2014, I think.
What
Um,
is this? You are
www.finalgirls.com. I'm almost certain it's Final Girl or not Final Girl, 2016, I or
Yeah, that sounds right. 2016 or 2015.
but yeah, so that
Fuck
is
yeah. Thank you so much. I'll be cherishing this. I'm a big the reason I'm a for those of you who don't know what The Final Girls is, which most people probably don't,
no.
it's like a 2015 like horror comedy, much more leaning into the comedy side of things. I guess kind of like it's kind of in the same area of like a spoof film, but I would say a lot less oriented on like gross out or like crude humor.
Mhm.
It's much more kind of like poking at like the old cheesy slashers of the 80s, but
Yeah.
also kind of adding this very interesting parental spin. Has a pretty great cast. Thaisa
Tessa Farmiga.
Tessa
Isn't I think it's Tessa.
Tai.
Tessa, yeah, Tessa, because it's Vera and Tessa, so I think they're like Russian or
That's
something.
sick. But yeah, she's the for those who don't know, the one of the lead actresses in the first season of American Horror Story, the
Yes.
teenage daughter. She's in it. It has this very great like mother and daughter like emotional pull that I think really supplants the film. And then in the last third, the
Oh
film just
my
kind of goes
god.
gonzo with the camera and the director locks the fucking I think it's a great time. It's a great group mind movie to watch. It's a great summer flick. Wish
Mhm,
this was around for like our Friday the 13th movie nights that we did recently because I do think this is such a group crowd pleaser movie that's just really easy to get into.
mhm.
It's silly, it's stupid at times, but I have a huge soft spot for it. So I'm very grateful you got this for me. I'm very excited to put this in my collection.
Fuck yeah, fuck yeah. But with all that said, we talked about some goodness with life. We talked about plugging the email in the comment section, talked about my haul, talked about our day. But today we're actually talking about our fathers. Dads, why don't you come in?
As four of them walk in.
Well, I'm being a bit facetious, but also a bit literal. Today we're actually going to be talking about a subgenre, one or two of movies that or I guess let me be a bit more specific. I had seen a couple years ago, but I think fall under the banner and umbrella of, I guess, what people would call dad cinema and the muscular movie. Muscular movie is a bit lesser of a term used, but one that I think still is so applicable as a form of art that we ingest. It's greasy, it's testosterone filled. You got to get a pump in while you're watching it. You're sweating, pores are just absolutely activated.
Sometimes you're running
Sometimes you're running,
mid-movie.
sometimes you're convulsing,
Yeah.
um, but you come out of them kind of changed, kind of cleansed, kind of reborn, or maybe all of the above. And I had been thinking and toying about this. Funny enough, I was going to do Deja Vu as one of the standouts, but I don't want to maybe spoil a potential episode in the future, but that will be kind of canned for right now. It'll be brought out later. But I was thinking to myself because we had talked about one of the movies we were gonna watch, and then I threw one in at random, another one that we had talked about. But I was really, really excited to do this episode because it sort of deals under the topic of a type of movie that we don't really give much credit towards. But also in our defense, a lot of the movies that fall into the dad core cinema or muscular movie trope often are like they're for people that are like 30 years our senior and have like eroded taste buds, eat country fried steak, and drink like black coffee every single hour of the day.
Yeah, it's like a graph, if you will. I forgot the exact word, but like basically where like you start out and it's really high of enjoyment, and those are like the conservatives, the dads, like the older millennials who love these certain type of films because of how action filled, or
Yeah.
the lead actor usually it's Sylvester Stallone, or who's the other fucker?
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, but
Clint Eastwood.
the fucker, the guy who's in bed with, like, Kim Jong Un, he's, like, the worst ever. He's, like, the biggest conservative ever. He's, like, in all
Uh,
those shitty
Jim Caviezel. Oh, Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal.
Sorry,
So
sorry,
actors like
sorry.
that who kind of occupy, like, this macho man persona for a
Yeah.
lot of these, like, millennial dads to kind of, like, "Oh, I kin Sylvester Stallone." Like, maternal instincts towards,
Yes.
fucking whoever.
Hmm.
But then it goes down for a lot of people younger than that, where they're like, "Okay, like, this is just a dumb action movie that doesn't provide anything of real substance."
Yeah.
And then you get to people our age who are probably kind of flowing back into this love for films like that, and how committed they are, and how just balls to the walls they usually go, and how just precise they are with vision, and just we're not really getting action blockbusters like we used to. I mean,
Yeah.
we can go on a huge tangent about like superhero slop and how that's kind of just being force fed nowadays. And obviously, you get the highlights in a bad bunch, like Sinners, for example. I would say could qualify as a dad movie with so many artistic elements and so much crowd pleasing moments.
Hmm.
But for the most part, we're getting IP slop and superhero slop in our action blockbuster filmmaking. So it's always nice to revisit the 2000s. For this episode specifically, but also one that wasn't that long ago that didn't get the proper love that we thought it
No.
deserved. Just films that do still exist that aren't as rare as they might be, you know, perceiving to be. If you looked at their box office numbers, they still exist and they still are very good.
Hmm.
But all that being said, it's a genre that isn't being tapped into as frequently as it used to be, for sure.
Exactly, exactly. And I do want to note that we will probably be saying the terms interchangeably, but I personally do think that there is a pretty big difference when it comes to like s- dad cinema centered art and then like the muscular movie art. Like, I guess, for examples in my head, a very big like dad core movie would be, and I think to a greater and lesser extent, ones that get it right and ones that get it wrong are like the test being Clint Eastwood movies,
Yeah.
huge dad movies. American Sniper being one of the greatest like pro-military propagandist movements there is. Like that movie, I forget, but like that movie made like 5 to 600 million dollars,
Fuck yeah.
and like
Wait, made $5 to $6 million?
600,
Oh,
5 to
600, 100.
600 million, sorry, 500 to $600 million.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
It
It's
was huge.
awesome.
It came out like January of 2014 to a point where like even in like this very weird like dystopian version of my brain, I think about like when that movie had come out, a couple of my friends were, like, reenacting, like, scenes in that
Oh,
movie.
that's so baller.
Like, the most iconic scene is, like, I believe him perched up on a building, train, like, watching.
He has, like, Kill a Kid, right?
Yeah, yeah,
That's so baller. Made that much money and still couldn't afford a real baby.
exactly.
But there's also, like, the Lone Ranger, which is essentially, like,
Lone
Lone
Survivor.
Survivor with Mark
Yes,
Wahlberg. That's
yes.
another dad one,
Great
which,
choice.
but then Muscular on the flip side, not a dad movie at all, but very muscular. Love Lies Bleeding.
Whoa.
Yeah. When you brought up the prompt
Whoa.
of muscular cinema, I find out that was literally the first thought.
Whoa, yeah.
Love Lies Bleeding is probably, like, the biggest muscular cinema film we've gotten in the last 4 years. It's a
Yeah,
brooding movie, it's a very queer movie, which is awesome,
yeah.
from a director who wasn't making very muscular movies before that. What, it was
No,
just Saint
same
Maud?
odd, literally,
But,
literally.
literally, as soon as you brought up the idea of muscular cinema, that was the first one that popped into my head. I think that's just a perfect example of it's testosterone filled, it's veiny, you can kinda
Mm,
smell it in the best way, it's sweaty, it
mm.
gets down and dirty, and it's sexy, but it's also really just it gets violent and it gets brute when it needs
Great
to.
choice.
Yeah, shout out to,
Katie O'Brien.
Katie O'Brien, yeah.
Talk about muscles? Muscles.
And she was bringing that action in the Mission Impossible series. I would say those are a good cross of muscular cinema as well as
Ooh,
dad.
dad cinema. Yeah,
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 I mean,
yeah.
some of those, what it was, the fifth Mission Impossible where he does like the crazy stunt where he's like using his handcuffed body to like hoist himself off the
Rogue Nation.
pole.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's major muscular.
But even, like, I would even wanna, like, branch out to more of, like, an abstract point of view where, like, Crank, huge, and I know you haven't really seen Crank.
I've seen enough of it to know. Would you say that's dad
Just
core?
pure muscle.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
I think that because, like, I think like, for dads, they're not wanting to watch a movie that has a guy, like, dropping his drawers and having sex in the middle of the
They
street,
don't wanna
you
watch
know?
dumb shit, they wanna watch, like,
Uh,
cool dumb shit.
Military propaganda, Gran Turismo, Gran Torino, um, fucking, Ford v Ferrari, you know? Not I think, like, F1, like, they're like, racing and racism, linkage, you
Ooh.
I just got goosebumps. No, I think, like, to me, I've always felt like dad cinema is ones that never really challenge the audience, or
Yeah. It's safe
it's
usually.
safe, plays on tropes that they're familiar with or were around during that time, racing, cars, guns,
Sure.
military, you know, the war being something, like, prevalent in their minds or their dads had to experience, or at least.
Let's shout out Austin real quick because he brought up the other day last time I saw him Starship Troopers, which funny enough
Oh, yeah.
is my biological father's favorite movie. That's a huge dad
Classic.
movie,
Yeah.
and that's kind of making fun of the whole military propaganda thing, and a lot of people just don't clue that in.
Sure.
You know what's a huge dad movie, which I guess I haven't seen enough of it to really count for, and it's not really a singular movie, but rather like a plethora of them.
Tell me.
The Count of Monte Cristo. My stepfather is unironically
Interesting.
fucking
Interesting.
obsessed with that.
Yeah, westerns are big, big
L
adjacent, like, horse, swords,
Swords, V for Vendetta is a huge dad film.
Desperado.
Yeah.
Oh, man, yeah, it just it plays on, and again, like, I think dad cinema, fuck, I wonder, I'd be curious to see what, like, our age, when they become dads, what that sort of dad cinema will alter
Yeah,
into,
that's a great
because it's
question.
like, we talk about now, right, where the America is bombarding, like, all these nations and talking about getting drafted, and, like, people are like, "No, I'm not gonna go." There is no patriotism, which I'm so very thankful for. People have consciousness and awareness.
Yes.
So what will that turn into?
True, I funny enough, you know, it's so funny, and it's I don't wanna lead too much into this topic, but I really do think it's space movies, specifically Interstellar.
Whoa.
The hold that Interstellar has
Whoa.
on Gen Z men our age is
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, the whole joke is you go to any college dorm room of a guy and he has an Interstellar poster.
Whoa.
And I do think there is this fascination with space and this love for space and science fiction, whether it be stuff like Rick and Morty that's kind of
Yeah.
getting that certain audience in that
Yeah.
realm, or it's films like Interstellar, Christopher Nolan stuff. I really do think, like, Christopher Nolan is gonna have such a strong grip on dad cinema for people our age in
Yeah.
10, 20 years. Like, Interstellar will be that movie where they're like, "Oh, I remember watching that in theaters." Oppenheimer, I remember going to see that in theaters.
Sure. Sure.
honestly, I wouldn't be shocked if Project Hail Mary also holds that weight for some people.
Sure, and, I think, like, you bring up, like, posters being strung up in college dorms and that sort of age demographic. Maybe it's the pivot into the male archetype no longer being the way that it was, and especially, like, the shift into, like, the feminist movement and the
Mm,
empowerment of women. There is that pocket of, like, the drive, the Marty Supreme, the Joker, the loner,
yeah.
and how that can taper into being something that interestingly, I don't know how fathers would then bestow that upon their children, but almost maybe look at that as like the text or the playbook.
Yeah, fuck my chud life,
Yeah, fuck my chungus
you
life.
have to watch this to get the codex in your brain.
Yeah.
But back to kind of the original,
Sure,
like,
sure, sure, sure.
big dad, I mean, the experience that we had watching a film with your dad was Heat, Michael Mann's Heat, and
Mhm.
obviously we'll get more into Michael Mann in a second, but I really do think that's, like, a great example of a more dad-oriented film that's not muscular driven, but also at the same time is an impeccable movie,
Yeah.
and I think I don't wanna cause the discrepancy that a dad film to in our eyes is a admittance of a lack in quality because that's not the fact at all. You
No.
can be a dad movie through and through with phenomenal quality.
Mhm.
Um, I would argue both films we're gonna talk about today in more
Big
thorough
time.
detail both occupy muscular and dad, and we both think they're well, I guess we'll get there. But
Yeah.
in terms of like other just films I want to shout out in both those areas, one that I've had a fascination with, as you know, and a low-key obsession with, Rebel Ridge. That's a muscular ass film.
Yeah.
I don't know how dad it is because a lot of people would be confused and think that movie's kinda centrist, which would make you believe that more conservative leaning dads are gonna be kinda into it, but at the same time, it's not guns blazing as other action films like a Die Hard, for example,
Mhm.
but such a great example of just a muscular procedural by the books, great, like, Western action film. I've really come to love that movie so, so much, like, it's truly climbed to be one of my favorites of all time because of how many just iconic moments and just how good it feels.
Yeah.
Aaron Pierre is the
Oh my
sexiest man ever.
god.
He's, like, six foot
Oh,
seven.
yeah.
Biceps are bigger than both our heads combined. It's such a good
Yeah.
time. I'd recommend that movie to everybody if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix, so, I mean, everyone should try to see it if they can.
Yeah, and I was trying to brainstorm thoughts about like movies that maybe I consider favorites that would fall into like the muscular or dad trope. And if I'm being so honest, I was a bit hard pressed. I was actually kind of shocked at the thought that like although talked about to such a degree, the fact that the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies aren't like dad core.
Yeah, maybe just that was when superhero movies were just more nerdy. I just
Yeah.
think that it was more of a
Yeah.
nerdy thing, like, obviously, Spider-Man made a lot of money. Like, comic book movies weren't, not getting, like, shut out at the box office, but that's still around the time that, like, Daredevil and, like, Electro were being released and just flopping,
Yeah.
like, I think that superhero movies were a lot more abstract and more obscure,
Mhm.
and, it really took the MCU to fully pivot into things like Iron Man and stuff like that for it to hit the full mainstream. I think dads are very insecure creatures, especially older dads, and I think they're so afraid to be seen as nerdy or lame,
Yeah.
to a certain degree. No, I think less so because I think all interests are being so, encouraged from the internet and, like, from a internet space. You can find your community so easily,
Yeah.
but I do think Spider-Man was a bit too early in the superhero, zeitgeist to be considered like, "Oh, that's a cool thing to like."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
In the Lost Lands, is that a dad movie or is that a grandpa movie? 'Cause,
Dude, I okay, so, like, we could do it and I would love to one day make an episode on Paul W.S. Anderson. I think, like,
yeah.
maybe, like, a specific movie because fortunately, I guess, there is so much that you can glean on with virtually every one of his projects. I was just thinking about him when I was at Book Off because he feels like a very Book Off centered,
Oh,
like,
DVD centered
filmmaker.
guy.
Oh, dude, and, like I think in the Lost Lands, unfortunately, to the greater conversation we're having with, like, dads, I don't think it lands itself like, fantasy is a fickle game when it comes to dads.
That's like a very much like dads aren't super into the Lord of the Rings, but, like, boomers, they eat
Mm.
that shit up,
Mhm.
they're there. And then kind of like I was saying earlier, like, it's kind of raised up recently where people our age are really into Lord of the Rings and
Yeah.
J.R.R. Tolkien stuff and, George Martin stuff.
Yeah.
Um, Gladiator, I mean, you can't
Oh,
talk
yeah,
about
dude.
dad films, like, that's,
Yeah,
like, the dad movie. Braveheart is another one where I think it's a super dad-oriented
for sure.
film. Um, I technically have, like, 3 dads. My parents aren't gay, but I just had a lot of
Yeah.
different
A lot of male figures
dad
in your
male
life.
figures in my life, so I guess I've kinda seen a lot of aspect to, what a dad movie can be.
Yeah.
Um, so I've seen all sorts, my biological dad loved The Dark Knight, another Nolan one.
Yeah.
But my biological dad is a bit younger. He's, like, still a millennial, whereas
Wow.
my grandpa is, in the boomer sphere, and I grew up with him, so I was on the Sci-Fi Channel, Skyline is
Oh
Skyline's the
my
movie,
god.
yeah, right? Like, the Sci-Fi Channel special.
Sure. My dad, yeah, I think, like, my dad is such an interesting case because by the time, like, I was young and impressionable getting into my teens, he was well into either his late 40s or very early 50s, and because of that, like, there wasn't many he was also a weird fuck, like, the closest dad movie I could think of that he really put me on was The Fifth Element, the Luc Besson movie,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
which
Big Dad one, I would say.
to his credit, is a pretty terrific movie. Like, that movie's just so odd and it's unfortunate that it's directed by a ghoul. But outside of that, I mean, like, he showed me Armageddon, the Michael Bay movie, which
Yeah.
is literally like a bunch of farmers, partially turned astronauts, going to the moon. I mean, you've seen that clip of like Ben Affleck, like when he's like drunk out of his mind on the director's commentary. He's like, basically, he's so fucking drunk, and he asks himself, he's like, yeah, why the fuck would they send farmers to the moon?
Oh, wait, I think, yeah, you have told me
And
about
he's like,
that.
"It made no fucking sense, like, it made no goddamn sense at all," and Michael was like, "Just fucking act in the movie, man." But no, like, I wish there's parts of me that I'm very grateful that my dad did it because he showed me some really odd things that, like, if I brought up in the household that I live in now, I think it would, like, the it would be like Belko prison experiment where,
Yeah,
like,
the windows shut down, and they're like, "1 person can leave only."
exactly, because the shit that, like, he would put me on I own the Criterion, um, it's this movie called Betty Blue,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah.
3 hours long, I've never watched it, but I guess it's, like, this relationship that crumbles while they try to build a house or something like that, I could be totally off base. My dad was, like, an odd individual, like, he would tell me all these things, but no, in terms of the dad cinema, imperative stuff, irreparable damage, but luckily
Well, I guess I have a question for
talk
you.
to me, please.
Give me like, a dad film where it's actually about being a dad. Can you name one?
Ooh, like fatherhood is
Yeah,
imbued into
like,
the
fatherhood's,
narrative.
like, essential part of it.
Oh my god.
'Cause I don't know if, what's the one with, Chevy Chase, the Christmas movie?
Christmas Vacation?
That's kinda like a dad movie. I think a lot of
Yeah, it's
dads
like a
love
dad assembling
yeah,
and
like,
and,
love
like
that Christmas type of time thing.
ooh. Maybe because it's the one that comes to mind, like the Kevin Costner movie Field of Dreams.
Yeah,
He
yeah, yeah.
is, like, building that baseball field, "If you build it, they will come," sorta
Might
mantra.
be a bit too old for, like, our dads, I would say. I guess your dad's a bit older than mine, but I feel
Uh-huh.
like that's a bit more of, like, my grandpa's area
Mhm.
for
Oh, no.
sure.
Yeah, most
'Cause,
definitely.
yeah, Kevin Costner and all that
Like,
jazz.
90s centered, like, dad cinema. That's a great like, who are about fathers. The one that, like, my family always put on the rotation, which actually, like, one day, like, down, like, in years from now, we'll watch, is The Family Man. It's this, Nicolas Cage movie where he's, like, a rich, affluent businessman who's single. Basically, it's like the Father Christmas story of, like, a homeless man played by Don Cheadle, like, meets him, and he's like, "You have everything in life, don't you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I do," and then, like, he wakes up the next day as, like, a family man, where
Ugh,
drives a van, has
okay.
a wife, basically realizes what it's like to be a normal human being.
So it's like, 9 Lives,
My
where
god.
Kevin Spacey becomes a cat, and he figures out the importance of being a present father in his child's
Lord,
life, and
forgive me for what I'm about to do. And I strap off the shirt and the mom is on me. But no, I think, like, funny enough, like, it you can disagree with me, and it might be my personal affliction to the movie that I am diseased by. Signs is kind of a big one. Um, and I think, like, when we talk about it, Because I was introduced to that film through my mom letting me watch it, but I'm also very much aware of the 2 other factors, my stepmom and my dad talking to me about it, and it was big, and, like, back then, no one was really being called the next Spielberg, and after The Sixth Sense, Shyamalan was that person, and what I also fail to remember is the fact that that movie, again, made so much fucking money, and it was big. It was a much bigger commercial success actually than Unbreakable was, another kind of dad adjacent movie, but not on the global scale. But I think what is so fascinating is that movie, like there's like documentary about that movie. The behind the scenes trail of that Mel Gibson was on this huge cusp of doing movies like Conspiracy Theory, um, a whole bunch like Braveheart. He was like the it actor, Joaquin Phoenix on the come up. Um, just a big fucking movie.
That's true. I guess funny enough, the film of Shyamalan's filmography that was kind of the most prominent in my household was probably The Village, funny enough.
Is that real?
Yeah, my grandpa loved that fucking movie.
Really?
Yeah, just I mean, obviously everyone will probably have like, "Oh, my dad loves this, isn't it so crazy?" But yeah, I feel like the dads in my life always had just weird little fucking obsessions, whether it because they were
Yeah.
so young and so like the films that they love are also kind of similar to the films that we love, but also on the same universe, just like our family tradition every time we go up to like our family cabin is legitimately watching the Evil Dead 2013 remake and Krampus. Like there's legitimately,
Goated.
and every time it's my stepdad pedaling for it, it's like we might as well watch Krampus. It's the time. We might as well watch
Wow.
Evil Dead. It's like where is this coming from? As he's like telling me, "Have you seen the newest version of the Count of Monte Cristo? Have you seen this?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "It's 4 hours. It's phenomenal. You have to trust me." And I'm like, "Is this a new one?" He's like, "It's a new one. There was one last year, but this one's the real shit."
I think that speaks to the grander tapestry of our friendship because without that, we wouldn't exist, and without like, because I was thinking to myself, and I guess I could ask you this if those 2 aren't the answers of, like, the one movie that doesn't even reach in a dad or muscular that, like, is the movie that I think helped define you the most in your household. Because for me, I think of it like it was yesterday. For some reason, the shock in my stepmom's eyes when she at, like, my little 8-year-old self was like, "You haven't seen Cloverfield?" And then we watched it, rented it from Blockbuster, watched it that night, and that movie, like, it put the trajectory on of, like, horror movies that then they would show me The Fourth Kind, The Conjuring, Paranormal
Mm.
Activity. So without that, I wouldn't be here.
That's true. I have a very distinct memory of like really prominent because it was I was young and it was very vulgar, but of my stepdad and my mom showing me Inglorious Bastards when I was like
Ooh.
10. I was
Yeah,
really young. I was in elementary.
yeah.
Um and they showed me that, and I was like, "This is crazy." Like, I loved it obviously because I was young mind and, it's a great
Oh, yeah.
film, but just, like, a crazy thing to show someone so young, and obviously, like, someone's gonna be like, "My dad showed me Pulp Fiction," and, like, I get it. Like, everyone has, like, the crazy one their parents probably let them watch,
Yeah.
but watching that and then I also, funny enough, in the same vein, and not just because it's Tarantino, I remember my parents showing me The Hateful Eight.
Yeah.
Um, and I always remember that because I distinctly remember how, like, weirdly like, how weird the scene where Samuel L. Jackson makes the guy give him fellatio in the
Yeah.
snow,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
how weird that made me feel, and I was like, "I'm like a baby. Why am I watching this?" Like, I that was a moment where it
Yeah.
wasn't an instance where I was like, "I'm too young for this, but this is
Yeah.
so cool that I'm watching it." I was literally like,
That's
"Oh, I think
awesome.
I'm too young for this. Like, I don't feel comfortable watching this."
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think all of this paves the way to where we are now, you know? And I think we're gonna do this. Obviously, we're 40 minutes deep into this video. We're doing it very differently today because I kind of don't. I guess it's a. The whole point of this is it's all about feel. You know, it is all about the vibe,
100%.
the feelings, the emotions, the ambiance, the atmosphere. So I'm really not concerned about trying to describe the plots of these movies. Maybe more details, but the vibes of the 2 movies that we watched. Now, the 2 movies that we dove into came to us from 2 different Michaels,
Michael Mann and Michael Bay.
and let's just say we were true hairy men going by the bay, and I guess well,
Okay.
can any of you guess what 2 from each of their filmographies we watched? Drum roll. Okay. Nope, you're wrong. It was
That's in the title.
oh,
It's in the title of the video.
that's actually so true. Sorry, guys. Great job. You're so smart, guys. Um, we dove into, in order, Michael Mann's Miami Vice, the director's cut,
Very important.
and that was on DVD. And then a day and a half so after that, we watched the 4K of Ambulance.
Directed by Michael Bay, 2022.
Yes, 2022, Miami Vice 2006.
Yes.
And before that, our relationship together, conjoined of both the directors, was in terms of Michael Mann, the first one we watched, funny enough, was Ferrari in theaters. Um, and
Yeah.
then directly thereafter, we watched Collateral. This was right around the time I had an injury.
Yes.
I was incapacitated, did a lot of Discord watch alongs, watched Ferrari in theaters, liked it, didn't love it. It's a tale of two halves of a movie where one I prefer very much so over the other.
Yeah.
And then Collateral is a movie that to this day, I still say like, it is one of my all-time favorites, and I guess, I am contradicting myself because I talked about earlier, I don't think any of the movies I watched fitting into the muscular c category. Totally wrong. I mean, that scene alone, oh my fucking god, when, like, Vincent, played by Tom Cruise, gets mad at Max because he leaves his mom's hospital room and he takes the briefcase and runs. You remember that shot that he gives when he throws the briefcase over and he trips him and pushes him to the ground, it's like side profiles of both of them on the ground,
Legitimately don't remember. The only thing that I to this day remember is the coyote scene, which is awesome.
which is so, okay, he gave it a 3.5, and we were very malformed babies back then.
I would probably enjoy it more if I rewatched it, yes. But I will not deny how sick that scene is where he takes the 2 guys down with his 1 gun, and they're like,
Oh.
"Who the fuck do you think you are?" Yeah,
And then, like, that's the most loud, piercing shots ever,
Electro's in the car losing his mind.
right? With his hoagie sandwich that he was gonna eat, but then after that, we had the privilege, and that could be a whole episode in and of itself, of getting to experience and witness Heat in 35 millimeter at the Vista in Los Angeles with my father. Fucking formative. The only movie we had seen up until then and we will ever see with my father.
Yeah, I would argue maybe top 3 theater experience of all time for me. I think it was just such a seeing
Yeah.
that for the first time on that screen with that sound system with the company that I had was I mean, I don't know how realistic of a reaction it is to cry at the end of Michael Mann's Heat, but I was
Yeah.
sobbing. It was that ethereal for me.
No, I mean, like, that whole day we got, like, McDonald's, I was with my dad, I got to be with my dad. I was my dad's kid. Um, ooh, um, and then after that, we went to my house and we watched the first 3 episodes of Succession season 4.
Oh, that's true.
And oh, we went in the pool before then, but great, great, great time, I'll never forget it, I agree as well, top 3 theater experience, and then that kinda led us to where we are now. Personally for me, I've seen Black Hat, that's basically out of all the other ones. Yeah, and I haven't seen Thief, haven't seen Manhunter, haven't seen The Insider, a lot of stuff to get through. Um, but then dove into Michael Bay. And Michael Bay's a little different with us
Yeah.
because Ambulance has been the first and only Michael Bay movie we have watched together,
Yeah,
correct?
because Bad Boys 4 is not his film, and although
No.
he is a part of that, I think as a producer, and
Mhm.
obviously set the way with 1 and 2,
Yeah.
not his movie.
No, and knock off 5 of them already because I don't know when in reality we would ever because even when the new Michael Bay movies come out, we're not gonna be watching the Transformers movies, like,
Yeah.
he has so much externally, like Pain and Gain. You could even do, like, the older stuff, Con Air, The Rock, The Island, Six Underground, that, like even Pearl Harbor, which is, like, 3.5 hours long, I'd be more interested in watching to see what kind of cataclysmic failure that is.
Is The Island
Yeah.
with who's that with?
Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson.
Okay, I always get that one confused with Danny Boyle's
The Beach.
The Beach.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
very very similar color palette, they're very
Yeah.
saturated, great movie though, such a fucking crazy film. There's, like, a shot in that movie with the big Michael Clark Duncan, the big black guy in the Green Mile,
Yeah.
and he's like r you remember that scene in the Avengers when the Hulk is chasing Black Widow and
Yeah.
he's like imagine because Michael Clark Duncan's shoulders are so big, it's literally, like, composed in such a crazy I always talk about, like, the scene with the fellatio scene in Hateful like, that's for some reason, like, a frontal lobe moment for me in
Yeah.
The Island. But the Ambulance was the only Michael Bay film we had watched together,
Yeah.
and I had hope. I had hope You know what's funny? I think I had equal measure hope in both films hitting for you.
Because I guess the important thing to say is you had seen both
Both, for sure.
before we'd done the rewatch for you.
Yes.
I had seen neither.
No, I had seen Ambulance in theaters theatrically. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. I think I made a YouTube review. I've recommended it, but I was like recommending a ghost. Like I didn't know the spirit of
Sure.
it. Miami Vice, I watched much later on DVD, the same DVD we watched, and the DVD portion is important because that is like titular to the look of the
Oh,
film.
1 quadrillion%.
And I gave it a 4 out of 5. Very much enjoyed it, but always felt it was in the shadow of his first digital foray in filmmaking with Collateral and that being eaten by the heat, which I now have a very different view of. But yeah. So I guess my question to you is I teed these up as muscular, dad centered cinema. You watch Miami Vice first. I was sitting next to you. They were not.
Mm.
So what is your takeaway now? A couple days, a week out of it. What do you feel about it? What do you feel about Michael Mann? What do you feel about art? What do you feel about yourself?
One of the most okay, what I wanna say might be controversial, but I say this with a I'm gonna go into a whole thing.
Go, please.
This double watch has been one of the most gender affirming experiences of my entire life. I have a dick. I like to use it. And Michael Mann and Michael Bay taught me that I like to use my dick. That might be crass, that might be vulgar, but that is truth. After the movies, I looked down and I said, "I'm grateful for you. I am circumcised." I think that makes a big difference here.
Sure.
When he made those movies, he made those for the circumcised brothers.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna refrain from my own experience, and I think the refraining kind of gives way to where I am in that sort of spectrum.
Anyways, in all seriousness, Miami Vice is is one of the best movies ever made. I maybe I'm a fucking maybe I'm easy to please. Maybe I'm a broken record because we've talked about so many films that I absolutely loved already on the podcast. It's been only like 7 episodes. But I adored Miami Vice, and I think this is a movie that I'm gonna be thinking about on my day-to-day life so frequently. And not even in the sense where, like, as someone who is a creative who wants to create art, I'm actively looking for things that inspire me and that wanna push me to make more art.
Mhm.
Miami Vice is not a film that I'm sitting here being like, "I wanna create something like that in terms of plot, in terms of, like, genre." That's not really what I'm inspired by with that movie. It's a fucking energizing experience for any person who has any sort of low budget camera and a dream. It looks so great in the best way possible. Like Liz said, we watched this on DVD. It looks so good the entire time. He's getting so frenetic and creative with the camera angles. The driving shots in this movie look so good and seamless and smooth. The way he frames screens and digital screens and more screens, like the overlaying screens, the use of close-ups, the use of, like, the fisheye lens. It's just it looks so oversaturated in color, but in the best way. It feels like a late night city movie in the best way possible, and that's only acknowledging the look of the film, and that's why I think I was so energized by it because this movie has so much more to offer than just the look, but just on the look stance alone, I wanted to create something so badly in spiritual success of Miami Vice. I think that movie is impeccably shot. And in terms of just as an actual film, it's riveting. It's coked out Colin Farrell giving the most crazy performance ever. Jamie Foxx is his right-hand man who's doing such great work in his career. And then you just have this psychotic blend of cocaine and drugs and South American borders and planes and
Mhm.
boats and shootouts and oh my god. I think what this watch of Miami Vice has done for me in terms of establishing my relationship with Michael Mann as a filmmaker is there is one thing to make an action film and to make it energized and to make it great. And to make a great action film is one thing.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to explain what I'm trying to say here, but his films are ethereal. They
Yeah.
are spiritual. They feel bigger than their contained stories, whether it be the self-isolation we feel in pursuing our passions, the self-isolation we have to put ourselves through when love and our careers don't coincide. There is something so haunting about his films. I think people really acknowledge that with Ferrari, which is why I wanna revisit that film because people acknowledge how that's his most haunting film. But with even with movies like Heat, which feels so ghostly. It feels so bigger than our physical landscape. It feels beyond us. It's something that it's hard to describe, but you can just feel it with his films. And I felt it with every film. With Collateral, everyone points to that coyote scene. That's doing so much heavy lifting when it comes to just establishing this bigger than our story feeling that all those movies have, and
Yeah.
Miami Vice has that in spades. I think about that shot where Colin Farrell is, like, supposed to be listening on the case of what the plan is, like, this big plan that's gonna be basically, like, going undercover for this huge drugs operation, and he's looking out at the ocean, and he's just not paying attention. It's
Yeah.
never
Yeah.
explained, it's never
Yeah.
really brought up again, but it's just moments like that where just it feels so spiritual and it feels so beyond what we're seeing in the
Oh,
best
yeah.
way possible.
Yeah.
Um, how did rewatch feel for you on this time around? I miss, you went from 4 to 5, now we're
Hola, chica.
hola chico.
I think and maybe I have spoiled you, or maybe I've spoiled us indubitably so, because I think the only way that you get this level of yearn and long while also living in the moment and maximizing it on a technical and literal what we're seeing on screen level is to have a cinematographer and a filmmaker who prioritizes despite the helicopter shots, despite the wides that are showing the sea and the speedboats, the cars,
The airplane.
the as he's flying like fucking Superman, is that to me, you can only like yearn with Sonny and Rico when you are that close to their face
Yeah,
or when you are that close to the window. And I think like the most poignant moments in these films, and I say these films because I'm kind of lumping his digital era. I haven't seen Public Enemies and I haven't seen The Insider, but primarily Collateral and Black Hat is like when you find, and I think it is when you are in such moments of heightened intensity. Collateral, it is a taxi driver being like thrust into this situation of crime syndicacy and all this stuff and murder and killing. In Miami Vice, it's this case that is literally thrown onto them by a rogue sort of officer that has been outed. Um, and I won't explain like with what happened to Black Hat, but throughout it, through circumstance that they find themselves in, they also find circumstantial love. And it is people that are in these situations with them, whether it is Jada Pinkett Smith in Collateral or the actress who I don't remember the name of in Miami Vice. And it is a movie that is already moving on a clock that then, if one hand is perpetually moving and the other is moving just a tad bit slower to where then you can have the moment of love. But you always know at the end of the day, whether it is when Max is having a moment with Jada Pinkett Smith, or again, you talk about like his deep fascination with the with water. Talk about like a succession link. There is something about the way his characters look towards the sea. How the Robert De Niro's character in Heat is literally in a penthouse facing the ocean,
yeah,
or with I don't even remember if you know in Collateral, Max's thing is that picture he has on his mirror, which is of like an island, and
mm,
it's something about the yearn that they have, and knowing that what they want and what they're in pursuit of is so fleeting and minimal because the clock is ticking ever so fast,
yeah,
and he's so unbelievably tangible and real and authentic with the character moments that he has interspliced, and like I think a complaint that people have is like Rico and Sonny don't feel like the way that they were in the multi-season show, but I think the whole point of Miami Vice is to be locked into a section of these people's lives and to see the literal fallback and the implosion that happens when they don't make their career about the mission and more the people around it and the for lack of a better term, the collateral that then is taken from them, you
100%.
know? Um, I still think I prefer Collateral more, but that is just, like, that movie will be forever just locked into my being, but I think on a pure form level, we wouldn't be having this conversation in such energy if it was reversed, where I had shown you Miami Vice on Discord, you liked it, and then I had shown you Collateral now. I
Yeah.
know you would have loved Collateral, but we were juiced and jazzed with Red Bull and mojitos on the Havana Island, you know? So it's like it's just brilliant fucking shit,
Yeah,
dude.
no, 100%. To kind of backtrack a second, actress's name is Gong Li.
Dude.
She's so, 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 so great in this movie for so many reasons. I think that a big reason why this movie works so well, as do all of his films, as for what I've seen, is tone. I think a
Mhm.
big thing with action films is how can you balance tone to
Yeah.
obviously have us care about our protagonist, but at the same time be invigorating and enthralling enough to keep us in the motion of the events,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think why Miami Vice works so well is because we do genuinely care about Sonny and Rico's plights. I think that like there is something so interesting about the way that Rico's relationship with his wife is written, where essentially he's at first like concerned and she's like, no, like you're gonna get yourself killed in this profession
Yeah.
if you think about like if there's a moment where you're hesitating and you're thinking about me, you're going to die.
Yeah.
And I don't want that on me. So you need
Yeah.
to lock your shit in basically. And just like that simple different change in dynamic where
Yeah.
it's establishing a level of like professionalism in a marriage and just how like no like I want you to take the best care of yourself, like this is self-preservation,
Mhm.
so brilliant. And
Mhm.
although some might say like okay well you have the damsel in distress avenue that happens when later in the film something happens to his wife,
Yeah.
at the same time I feel like it's no one else but himself who feels that pain the worse,
Yeah.
but at the same time, he was kind of just he had to do what he had to do, right? Like, it was never an instance where, like, he was being negligent or whatever. I think the film just in terms of writing its characters, in terms of establishing their motivations and why they do what they do is so different because it doesn't just flat out say it,
Without question.
but rather, like, it lets you really feel it, and I think that's I mean, perfectly exemplified through Sonny's character. I think there's this level of, like, okay, like, he's this badass motherfucker and he has a mullet and he's coked out and
Yeah.
he's railing this fine woman who he met who's on the opposite side, and it's a big win.
Mhm.
But there is like something genuinely pretty brilliant about like he's the first to be like no like do you ever just want to get away, like
Yeah.
let's just like get away, like I don't know, it feels very interesting to write that when I feel like it's very much the common thing for the woman to want the man to leave the life.
Mhm.
um yeah, no, I think at the same time though, very funny movie, very fucking funny. It hams up the
Dude.
camp fully. It goes there, but it really is this just romantic connection and this longing and this yearning between Sonny and Isabella
Mhm.
that really pulls this film to be so memorable. It is just it's a love story.
I agree.
Like it's marketed as this film that is very much more oriented in shootouts and undercover drug
Mhm.
busting,
Mhm.
but this is at its core a love story and fighting internally with can feel this connection with this person that's different,
Yeah.
but I also like can't I can't follow through with it, whether
Mhm.
it's my career, whether it's my internal struggle, which is something that he's tackled in Heat as well.
Mhm.
And I think that Heat also does it exceptionally where I mean, Al Pacino can't help himself, right? Like he has by the end. No, Robert De Niro can't help
Robert De Niro.
himself.
I
But
forget the
well, they
line.
both can't, right? They
No.
both can't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole, like, gut punch with the Moby track that plays at the very end where they're holding hands is, like, he is driving away and I talk about, like, happy accidents, like, that scene where it looks like they're literally floating in fucking heaven, I think was because, like, one of the stops on the lenses broke, and that's why
Mm.
it's so overexposed.
Oh my
Uh,
god.
and she's like, will we have enough time?" And he's like, "We'll have enough time," or he's like, "There's always enough time," or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's like, "Motherfucker,"
Yeah.
and I think that's maybe why I will forever have Collateral as my favorite man, is because it I think that it exists because you get and I sound like a dad, but, like, you get the happy like, there is the happy ending.
Sure, and that does feel good, like, Heat ends on a dire note, like,
Mhm.
they both got what they wanted, but for what
Yeah.
cost? And then, Miami Vice is kinda the same way where it is kind of a dour ending, like,
Mhm.
such an interesting end shot. I don't know if it's the same end shot for the theatrical cut, but the end
Sure.
shot for Miami Vice is such an interesting one.
Yeah. No,
Like,
literally.
it is, like, legitimately such an crazy decision to end your movie on, especially with how things were wrapped off, and you would expect it to end with a certain shot, and then it keeps going, and then you're like,
No.
"Whoa, like, that's
And
crazy."
that's the final shot.
Yeah.
Very as we're talking about this, I think about very fascinating duology of final moments in movies dealing with hospitals.
Yes,
Um,
yes.
and we'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, no, and funny enough, like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm sort of, like, sculpting in my head a double feature now that I'm thinking, but
Good.
I won't say
Sure,
because
sure, sure.
I think funny enough, I've been so hitting on, like, Black Hat, and the double feature that I'll say is, like, Black Hat and Ferrari, I think, would make a very fun later stage Michael Mann,
Yeah.
because even as you talk about it, like, I'm like, "No, that is so fascinating." Like, a movie that is all literally about a man pushing himself and either thinking and embellishing himself in the death of his son, his little boy, and I'm like, "Motherfucker, why does that movie, like, where is that movie in my head?"
I just
Like,
think we were too young.
we were
We
too
we we were
young,
too young
probably.
to get it. It's, you drink wine at 19, you're gonna be like, "This shit's ass," but you drink wine at 25 and your frontal lobe is there,
Yeah,
right?
no, exactly.
Yeah, no, I loved Miami Vice. I mean, the all ti oh my the all-timer, uh, if I know we've been parading and asking, like, "Please email in, please comment down below." I am genuinely begging someone to comment or email an answer to my question, which is, was the line, "Here's what's gonna happen," like, the
Mhm, mhm,
repetition of that
mhm,
line in that moment, I don't wanna say too much of someone who hasn't seen it.
mhm.
Most insane, brain-breaking line read I've ever heard. If someone knows if that was a script thing or if that was
Yeah.
the actress freeballing it or if it was, like, an on-day, like, decision just
Mhm.
to on the fly, like, "This would be cool." Whatever it was, please let me know because my brain has been rattling every
Mhm.
before I sleep every night, like, "What the fuck happened?" It is if it is an improvisational thing, it might be the best thing. It might be my favorite moment in the movie, which saying that it's one of my favorite movies of all time, to say that's one of my favorite moments is super high praise. I
Yeah.
fucking think that is lightning in a bottle. You cannot get that anywhere else. And it's so funny because even if that scene was taken out, there's like 25 of those throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of lightning in the bottle, the thunder in the background, it's
Yeah.
the movie feels there's the craziest set design of, like, the main head honcho's bedroom,
Having
and
his wall, like, cut
huge
in half.
window, and it's, like,
Yeah.
the jungle trees behind
Yeah.
it is fucking there's the crazy cutaway in the very beginning where, like, he's calling his wife to see if she's okay, and it
Yeah.
cuts the guy rummaging through the fridge. It's
Oh my
the craziest
oh
shit
my
ever.
god.
There were just so many moments where I'm salivating at the mouth. I could not contain myself. I was having so much fun. I was laughing like a fucking idiot. I was mouth ajar. It is just oh my the whole ugh, the end where police are running in and she gives that it's just so good on every level. And although it's a satisfying ending to some degree, it's also very much like in line with these characters. One thing that I think is so interesting, and I'm just gonna say it because it's the very beginning of the film, besides obviously the boat racing and the
For the director's cut,
one
yeah.
thing, I don't know why.
Doesn't even
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
the first interaction we see of our 2 main characters, Sunny is talking to Rico's wife. You ever notice that?
No.
It
No.
and not that I think that's like, oh, like, whatever, but to establish that three-person relationship with how the movie ends.
Mhm. Now, quickly, are you referring to when they're on the dock?
No, no, no,
In the club.
when
Okay,
they're
okay,
in the
yeah, yeah,
club,
yeah, yeah,
and it's like it's a 3 shot of them,
yeah.
and, like, he's
Mm.
kinda talking to her, like, on the side profile, and
Mhm.
Jamie Foxx is just kinda looking out, at least to my memory,
Yeah.
and I always was, like, fascinated by that because I obviously, the running joke with this film was for so long we never were even able to fully jump into it until finally recently, so I
Mhm.
feel like I've seen that scene, like, 3 times, even though
Yeah.
I've only seen this movie once,
Yeah.
and I feel like I remember distinctly, like, Sonny talking to his wife, and, like I said, not really saying like, "Oh, like, Sunny actually has whatever," but more
Mhm.
so, I think it just establishes such an interesting relationship between these 3 characters, and especially with how the film ends off. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love, love, love this movie. I wish I wasn't on the train like everybody else because it is sometimes nice to not be on the, "Yeah, Miami Vice is one of the best movies ever made" train, but
It's not even
I'm
that big of a train though, dude. Like,
sure,
you
I
you
mean,
were on the small train.
I guess so. We recently saw, like, a resurgence in people showing this movie love, which rightfully so,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm leading the charge now. I'm if I got the Miami Vice DVD today, as soon as you're leaving, I'm watching it again.
Yeah.
I'll watch it every day. That movie is just feels good to watch. It makes me sad. It makes me happy.
Yeah.
It's a good movie, dude. It's a good fucking movie.
Now, waited a couple days, incubated it a little bit. You cooked on it. Then we jumped into making the dessert, and we made the dessert. We got a big old Costco pizza that day, chilled at your place, and I was excited. I was. I had high hopes. I didn't know though, because after a certain while, it is 2 hours and 10 minutes, whereas Miami Vice is 220. But that is of different places, different locations, where this is nonstop. And it had been longer than I had seen Miami Vice when we rewatched it.
Yeah.
So we booted up the 4K, the crisp, clean, optical float,
It gave us the Tom Cruise, like, make sure you're watching this on the
no motion smoothing,
no
bitch.
motions.
So you watched it. Your first big Michael Mann into adulthood. What were your takeaways?
My first Michael Bay into
Did I say
adult.
Michael Mann?
Yeah.
Sorry, Michael Bay, Michael Bay, Michael Bay. We're transitioned.
Um, I think
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna give this is
Uh-oh.
actually very gender affirming for me. Ambulance is one of the best movies I've ever seen of all time. Like, that's not even a joke. Like, I
The
wish
teleprompter restarts.
legitimately, like, it's resetting on me as I'm like, "Wait, I have there's an ad break now?" Um, no, Ambulance is one of the best movies ever made of all time. At least okay, let me set the parameters for saying because I think people are gonna be start throwing tomatoes. I am someone who schlop only goes so far for me.
Yeah,
Technical prowess only goes so far for me.
yeah. I agree, I agree.
I'm unlike Liz, I'm a bit harder to please, and I know that, like I said, might sound contradictory considering of my unabashed love for most of the things that we've talked about on the pod recently,
Yeah.
but I am not super easy to please with certain films. With Ambulance, this is a layup for a 3.5, 4-star movie for me. It has the energy, it has the technical prowess, but was not truthfully expecting to be as earth-shattered as I was watching this movie. This is one of the best made recent blockbusters in memory. It's one of the best energized movies, period.
Mhm.
It has some of the most fun performances and moments and just tricks up its sleeve.
Yeah.
And everyone kind of asked the question probably when they first saw each other is like, really? The entire thing's in the back of an ambulance? Really? Motherfucker finds a way to make it spicy, make it crispy, make it electric every single new scene. And like
Yeah.
you said, it's 2 hours and 10 minutes. It's a long movie. It's
Mhm.
not short. There are no lulls.
No.
It is push, 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 push the entire fucking movie. And this movie goes to places that you're not anticipating in the best way possible.
Mhm.
There is an impromptu Zoom call surgery that
Oh
happens
my
in this
god.
movie that I you can have paid me money to be like, "Oh, this is gonna happen." It
Yeah.
happens, and it's a main part of the film,
Yeah,
and it's done amazingly with great effects, with great patience, with great tension.
I agree.
It is a genuinely phenomenal scene, but a completely unexpected one in a movie that you might classify as really there's in the back of an ambulance the entire time.
Yeah.
Michael Bay's Ambulance is peak blockbuster filmmaking. It is one of the few movies where it feels so good to watch in a standard format, but if you went out there and 40X was full impact
Mm.
back then,
Mm.
watch this in 40X, watch this in ScreenX, watch this in IMAX, RPX, every single special format, premium format you can get your hands on.
Yeah.
this movie would fit that environment while also just being such a good movie on its own that you can just be watching it standard in a
Mhm.
theater at home, and it is so much fun.
Mhm.
It is so well made, it is so well paid, like, I cannot give this movie enough praise, but that's from a first time watch where it
Yeah.
got me so pumped, I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
running during the movie, I was physically running. My loud ass legs were stomping on my downstairs neighbors because I
This is
was
true.
so pumped by the movie. What did a rewatch 4 years later serve for you?
So I think, like, take everything you say and add, like, a big comma and then 3 letters, and I think to me, yes, like, I it feels kind of redundant to say anything remotely similar to what you're saying because I would say it the same exact way. But the thing that I'm holding really tightly onto about Ambulance, and I said it in the opening of my log review, nothing about this movie, and I truly mean nothing, if you framed it in the same exact way, if you shot it in the same exact way, lit it, directed it, starred it, or casted it, and none of that would work if it wasn't shot in January of 2021.
True.
Because and I think what I find so brilliant, which I know was not intended, right? Like, it wasn't like the screenwriter was like, "I'm gonna plant, like, some bat doo-doo and get that to make the Rona," you know?
Yeah,
Like, they wrote it and it was a byproduct of coincidence and circumstance. But as I'm watching this movie, I see a Los Angeles that is the mecca and the epicenter for where I live in California, and I see a place that, whether through design, has not many people on its streets, and it chooses to shoot on streets or freeways that aren't populated, and that I now know is because of the COVID restrictions, but I also see a city that is ever evolving, ever building. And I brought it up to you, that bridge that I don't know the name of, that was in the movie in the middle of construction, that then when it was built, so many people moved around it. There was vendors, there was lowrider cars, that then it got shut down. And I look about that point specifically about Ambulance as kind of the summation of what I adore about Ambulance, which is it's a film that shows the result and the casualties of when you prioritize at the end of the day yourself in a system that will always punish yourself for trying to do the opposite, right?
yeah.
And you don't win. You don't win. And I think, like, this is gonna sound very counterproductive to a movie that isn't trying to say that, and it isn't trying to go as deep, and it isn't trying to resolve it in the way that I am painting it out to be. But I think when you live in a world where you have seen the effects of COVID, you've seen it be reduced to something trivial, and what happens when you don't work together and people turn on one another. And when you set that in a Los Angeles, as cars are exploding, and it's just moment after moment of the highest octane and intensity, and you finish the film and it's helmed by this honestly fucking stellar dynamic between Yahya Abdul-Mateen's character and Jake Gyllenhaal's character as the Sharp siblings, and you see, like, what good did this do, you know? And it tries to play things in a far more patriotic way, as does Michael Bay and Bew. But I left sitting there and I was like, man, I really don't think there will ever be a post-COVID movie that highlights what has happened to COVID better. And I even say that considering I love Eddington. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's a movie that shows the disruptive nature of being at odds with one another. And I'm imbuing a lot of weight into this film. And it is the same fucking movie where they stop and they're listening to Sail Away as they need to cool off.
Always like, "Stop shooting my big ass dogs in the car. Call this chase off."
What does this smell? Oh yeah, Nacho and I had Mongolian last night. Like, 100 fucking percent. But I think this is also the most beautiful metaphor, I guess, for who I have evolved into as an art enjoyer and an art consumer, is people will watch the shit that I make and think it's the most boring thing ever. In stark juxtaposition to like this is the most annoying thing ever, of like
Yeah,
what someone who doesn't engage with ambulance in good faith would say maybe because it's just nothing but an onslaught of a chase. But
sure.
when you actually like engage it, there is so many layers and facets to it, and it's committed. It is saying something. It is doing even more than it is saying.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I think for a film helmed by Michael Bay, who, as we know, is very much like pro-patriotism and all this fun jazz and stuff,
mhm.
feels very critical of the police system, feels
Yeah,
feels very critical on surveillance and what people
yeah,
can see and can't see,
yeah.
on just the overall networking that government has and how
Mhm,
we're kind of cornered in every single way.
mhm.
There is something very scary about the way that it presents all of the ways that the police can basically track this ambulance and can basically trap him in.
Yeah,
It feels very procedural, like I said earlier, but also in a very scary way. And it's kind of crazy to see that presented when technically, yes, in the movie they're like, we're not exactly the bad guys, but to some degree they are. Like they're the bank
sure.
robbers. Like they robbed the bank, they put people's lives in harm, they shot a cop.
Yeah,
And then but still, like, you're almost afraid of what the police can do because you're presented with their whole arsenal. It's like, do we really need all of this, like, for this situation? And obviously it gets more fun and stuff like the cartel stuff and the driving car with the minigun,
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But it feels very funny enough also kind of in the sense like Michael Bay or sorry,
Michael
Michael
Mann.
Mann
Yeah.
isms. A lot of just like ethereal kind of feeling to this one, a lot more like emotionality than you might anticipate from a Michael Bay movie.
Mhm.
I think this movie like really just kind of is the epitome of like going through a bad stage in your life and making bad decisions. And I
Yeah.
think that's what a lot of action films don't really focus on too often. It's a very common theme, don't get me wrong,
Mhm.
but there is something very endearing and also very relatable about I'm going through a bad time. I have to make some probably bad decisions to get out of my bad time, and everyone loses in this movie.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
there are some things gained and some benefits reaped.
Ooh.
However, at the same time, like it is a net loss, and there is sh very I can't exactly specify what because I don't wanna spoil too much, but there's a scream that a character does at the end in reaction, realization to something. Um,
Okay.
do you know what I'm talking about?
Can you hear the scream?
Yes. You can hear the first one, and then you can't hear the second one.
By the same person?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
their first scream
Uh-huh.
is so, like, shrill and crazy,
Yeah.
I was like, "Whoa."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, there's just, like, a lot of, like granted, this is like it's like we both know we're like thinking like the apes scratching their heads as like Michael Bay is making the skivvy toilet movie. Like at the end
Yeah.
of the day, maybe we are overthinking this, but that's the fun of this, right? Like
Yeah.
there is something very poignant about a post-COVID movie where it's essentially about people and contained to one tight space all going at each other's throats because they're contained to this one tight space in a bad situation.
Exactly.
You know, they're not bad people, they're in a bad situation.
Mm.
And maybe their decisions got them there, but at the end of the day, like they can't control where they're at now.
Mhm.
And I think it's a very poignant thing, whether it was intentional or not. I think that if that's what you take away from the art that you're watching, it's completely valid. So, I thought Ambulance was absolutely terrific. Maybe not on the same level as Miami Vice in terms of what I want to revisit, but like another film where like any occasion, like you're looking for a good watch independently, put it
Yeah.
on. Looking for a movie to watch with some friends while drinking beer, put on. Looking for a movie to watch with your dad, put it
Mm.
on.
Mm.
To, pump a couple weights to, put it on. Like I think it genuinely is a masterclass in filmmaking, whether it's all the crazy drone shots, all of just the large budget carbs directing and
Yeah.
chasing. It's
Yeah.
it's really impressive stuff. Like a lot
Mhm.
of the car stunts in this movie is really fucking impressive.
Oh, I agree.
The coordination that it requires and the camera angles and the way it's swaying. It's a lot of effort and it's a lot of effort that's very much recognized and looks very
Yeah.
seamless.
Yeah. I mean, again, if when it's all said and done, the movie makes me come out saying, wow, how different would things be in life if we just had someone to hold a hand with, you know?
Yeah.
And it just makes me like so happy that Michael Bay is the way that he is, having Jake Paul on his podcast, and like, after this, he's like, "Let me make a parkour documentary," like,
Fuck yes.
it's just I think this double feature was so much more divine than I could have even expected, and, like, there was things that I was going off of memory that wasn't even all there, um, but that is the point, like, we spent an hour and a half talking about these movies, but life and art, and so be it if it doesn't reach all the people that we hope, it reached us, and
Yeah.
maybe it can inspire you to watch it or watch something else, or maybe just engage with the people around you in good faith discussions about the art that you love.
Yeah,
Um,
there was a anecdote that you shared with me earlier today that's kind of similar to this, but also on the same track. Essentially, you told me about how you recommended on your Instagram in the dark, which is if you haven't watched our first episode, this very, very low budget 2000 made
yeah,
SOV horror film.
yeah,
And it's barely watched by anybody. It's only accessible through YouTube. No one's really talking about it. It's not in the zeitgeist too much.
literally.
And so Liz recommended it, and they showed me that, like, they were just going through the recent reviews, and there was someone that was like, "I found this off of, need to stop like TikTok recommend me things and me actually listening." They didn't enjoy the film, like 2 out of 5 or whatever.
Mhm,
But the point is that person took a chance with art that they might like and they might not like. They
exactly.
watched it, didn't like it, whatever. But the point is that they took a chance on something, right? And
Yep.
I think that if we can get one person,
Mhm.
whether it's one of our friends, whether it's a complete stranger, one of your viewers, whoever it may be, maybe it's tomorrow when we upload this, maybe it's in 3 years when we upload this,
Mhm.
or when someone's watching back on it, but whatever it may be, if someone goes out there and is like, "Yeah, let me actually give Miami Vice a try now," or "Let me go watch Ambulance for the first time,"
Yeah.
and they come out at least getting something out of the experience, then I would say that, like, I'm glad that we recorded and showed a love for these films because I do think there is something very important about these movies being made where I think, someone can look over this, get a book off, and be like, "Oh, like Miami Vice, like it's a dad movie, I don't care."
Yeah.
But there's a lot more to a film than a title of a quote unquote dad movie,
Yeah.
and there's a lot more to a movie than its genre. Um, yeah, just two brilliant movies that I think maximalize in the best ways possible completely two different filmic styles.
Mhm.
One's drone shots, and I think he actually might have gotten Superman to film it, and the other one, Michael Mann turned into Superman. That was
Yeah.
Michael Mann is
Yeah.
Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that just both movies, like you said, like very interestingly, like end at a hospital, but both feel so distinct, but also share a lot of the same through lines with just your situation not working out with what you want to truly pursue, what you truly value.
Exactly.
Um, but just so good, like
I agree.
in every way. I think if you haven't given these films a watch, or maybe it's been a while, maybe it
Mhm.
was and you watched a spur of the moment in theaters like Liz for Ambulance. Give it another try. I
I agree.
promise you, it's worth a second watch. Give Miami Vice. Watch the director's cut. I haven't seen the theatrical, but the pretty universal opinion
Mhm.
from people who love the film
Mhm.
is director's cut is the way to go.
Very much so. Yeah. Thank you, friends, as always. Again, I'm very excited to see I have now at this point like 2 or 3 ideas of future videos that I want to do. But yeah, please again, if you don't feel like emailing, comment down below any and all your thoughts, but questions you have. Go sky's the limit in terms of creativity for what you could ask. So, thank you so much friends for tuning in tonight. It was a wonderful opportunity despite it being like 1:30.
Damn.
But thank you all. I love you so very much and
Well, where can they find you on social
oh,
media?
don't worry, I'm getting there. I'm getting
Oh,
there. But
oh,
I'm going by your method now,
oh.
where, "Hey, friends, shit's in the bio, shit's in the links in the description." No,
The
but, like,
shit is in the description.
truthfully, like, all of our letterbox, my YouTube, Instagram, everything you could ask for is in the description. Run us up on some letterbox too. I think that's the one that I have a lot of fun with. I have a blast with all of these though, but yeah, my friends, you can pick and choose whatever you feel.
Yeah.
I love you all so very much.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope to hear from you soon.
Get some sleep, guys, or have a wonderful day or afternoon. Have a great evening, friends.
Peace.
Peace.